No, I did not start to review the news. This was not a clip from this year's G7 summit, but a shot of the main cast from the very beginning of the movie Rumours. Is this a political comedy or a drama? Or something else entirely? Hi there, it's Micha. Join me for this review if you like to find out. The G7 summit is an intergovernmental political and economic forum, where the leaders of the world's 7 largest and wealthiest liberal democracies meet each year to discuss and coordinate solutions to major global issues. Therefore, we are introduced to the Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of Canada, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of Japan, the President of France, and the Prime Minister of Italy. In this movie, the current event is hosted in Dankerode, a village in Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, where many so-called bog buddies were found and are here used by the group for a photo opportunity. They then convene at a gazebo with the goal of hammering out a draft of their official statement, where some personal issues emerge. Soon they notice that their phones don't seem to have reception anymore, and the staff that is meant to provide them with drinks and other commodities is not reacting to their calls.
I bring it next time.
Hello?
Maxine.
Anyone?
From there, things quickly escalate, as the bog people apparently have come to life and are now attacking them. Or something.
Well attacked. They loomed, threatening me.
Their demeanor was quite aggressive, quite hostile.
Very grumpy.
So they soon find themselves roaming through the woods, while things become more and more surreal, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Well, they are not the only ones, because this movie will not really tell you much in that regard. Going in, I was expecting a kinda straightforward political satire, and that was underlined by the movie being marketed and described as a black comedy. However, the movie is tough to put into a genre or category.
Run!
It has some horror elements, though no actual horror. It has some comedic elements, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it a comedy. It also has some overly dramatic moments, consistently overplayed with close-ups of the actors' faces and underlined by theatrical music. In one scene we even have Enya's Exile prominently featured. I do love Enya, but this song was not really fitting for the mood of the situation, which was surely on purpose, meant as a juxtaposition, highlighting the surreal nature of the movie at that point. Considering that the last few movies the directors created were classified as experimental, that shouldn't have come as a surprise, at least if you are familiar with their work, which I was not. If I had to put a label on it, I would go with arthouse movie. It was for sure a surreal experience and, as you will pretty quickly notice, meant more as an allegory than anything else. And for everyone who hasn't caught up on that, the movie will literally lay that out for you.
Do you think it might be illuminating to view the situation allegorically? To consider each of us as personifications of our respective nations?
If you choose to use this exact comparison and run with it, or come up with your own interpretations, the movie pretty much leaves up to you by keeping things vague. There are some pointers though that will give you a general idea as to where the movie makers wants your mind to wander, like this important one concerning the bog bodies quite early on.
The bodies appear to be those of their chieftains or leaders, sacrificially murdered for failing to deliver their promise of a good harvest.
Okay!
Towards the end, things become even more vague and it is up to you to project your own meaning into it. There are certainly enough weird elements you can work with, like the bog people doing a literal circle jerk at one point.
Their ancient seed has extinguished the flames.
This all would be well and fine if the movie would grab you for its entire runtime and draws you in throughout. Unfortunately, the novelty of the, admittedly, original setup quickly loses its hold on the audience. Or at least on me. That's partly because the characters have no depth whatsoever. You learn absolutely nothing about them, except some stereotypical traits sprinkled in that you would likely associate with politicians from each of the showcased nations.
I dress up like Mussolini at a costume party.
Fitting in with the allegorical approach. For that reason, there is no connection you can build with them, which, I get it, is by design, but that kept me from engaging with the events that take place on screen, and the surreal nature of events just adds to it. I mean, even the recurring topic that at first raised my interest.
But we are also here to produce a draft outline of a provisional statement regarding the present crisis. We should not forget that.
A present international crisis of unknown nature couldn't keep me interested, which was for the best anyway, as that mystery was never revealed. With the introduction of a plotline in the last quarter that also didn't elevate the excitement and led nowhere, things only got less engaging. There are also other things that bothered me a bit, like some editing choices, for instance this jump cut.
Why you have this accent?
Well, shh.
If there was a purpose behind that, I didn't get it. While the dialogue continues, all of a sudden everyone stands in a different place. That feels less intentional and just seems sloppy. There is more I could mention here, but I don't want to drag this review out any further. And with that being said, let's get to the rating. After an interesting start, in the last 2/3 the movie only had little to offer me to keep me engaged or even really interested. In the last third I actively had to force myself to pay attention, so I wouldn't miss any key plot points. I mean, I like movies that don't lay out the plot for you, and I have no issues with putting in some work to make sense of it. Sometimes even revisiting some ideas days later. With this movie, though I believe the meaning I made up in my head is solid, I wasn't inspired to spend much time reflecting on it. Would this movie had made the viewing experience more engaging? I might have. I mean, other arthouse movies successfully made me.
Well, since the theme of this year's summit is regret, do you have any regrets?
I don't regret having watched it, but I also wasn't properly entertained. I do feel a bit guilty for rating it with just 4 out of 10 points, as the acting was solid and I wanted to like it more, but scoring it higher would also feel dishonest. As always, reviews are subjective and maybe you will love this one. I mean, most other reviews were rather positive. I only hope that I could at least share my reasoning behind it enough for you to estimate if you should give this one a go or not. What about you? Do you struggle with movies that not only make you work to make sense of them, but also provide little to keep you engaged? Have you seen this movie and totally disagree? If so, what kept you engaged? Whatever you'd like to share, let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, share or subscribe. So much for now, see you next time, and thanks for watching. Draft of their official statement, where some personal issues, like some editing choices, for instance this jump cut, quickly loses its hold on the audience, or at least on me. So they soon find themselves roaming through the woods.